Hi, everybody. I'm Gene Valicenti. This is our daily debrief on the Karen Read retrial action. Now, there is no court today because it's Law Day in Massachusetts, so that allows us for kind of a recap, take a breather, and let's see where we've been over the past 3 days of testimony. Let's bring in defense attorney Morjieta Derisier, who's been joining us periodically to go over this. Attorney Derisier, thanks for joining us. I think the most significant witness was Karen McCabe. Are we in agreement on that? Jennifer McCabe, rather. Were we in agreement on that? Hi, Morjieta. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Great. Let's start again. You and I, it's a break in testimony, but we're going to recap what happened during the week. Most significant witness in your estimation, I guess it's Jennifer McCabe. Would you agree with that?
I would definitely agree with that. And I think the most important thing to focus on is, as the defense has brought out, the testimony from the first trial to the second trial. So as an attorney, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to thoroughly read every single word from the prior trial, which is obviously dictated and recorded. And I'm going to try to see if I can point out inconsistencies. And clearly the defense team is doing that. They're doing a great job at that. Obviously, Jennifer McCabe is a key witness for the prosecution. So her testimony about the moments leading up are extremely crucial. You can see a lot of the cross-examination, direct examination are really focusing on the details. And I think with a lot of the prosecution witnesses, especially those that testified in the first trial, we're going to see a lot of this tense, specific nature focusing on words that they said or phrases that they said that were different from the first trial.
Well, it's one word, I guess. Originally, Jennifer said, I was with Karen. We saw the body. And she was saying, did I kill him? Did I kill him? Question versus what she said yesterday. No, your client said, I hit him. I hit him. The declarative sentence. So that's one word, but significant, isn't it? Go ahead.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are definitely a lot of consistencies that have been coming out, especially with Jennifer McCabe's testimony. I think it's also important to note that the defense team has asked her about her prep for the second trial, right?
Yeah.
How much information did she get prior to, did she meet with the prosecution team about, I think one of the questions was even her demeanor, did she come off too strong before? Is she coming off a little bit softer this time around? But very consistently, she stated that Karen Read, did I hit him? Did I hit him? Or I hit him? I hit him. So that has definitely been very consistent. And I think that we're going to see a lot of that consistent focus on the testimony throughout the prosecution's case in chief with a lot.
Yeah. We're having a little problem. We're having a little problem with our transmission, but we'll just keep on going until we can't go anymore. In fairness to Jennifer McCabe, recounting what someone told you a while back in the heat of chaos with a body on the ground, even if Karen Read said, I hit him, that doesn't mean she does. Is the defense getting that across, that something in the heat of chaos, confusion, doesn't mean it actually happened? Are they making that case?
Sorry, Gene, could you just repeat the question for me?
Sure.
Sorry about that.
In fairness to Karen Read, just because someone says she said, I hit him, is the defense making the case that in the heat of the moment, with chaos, with confusion, a reasonable person might wonder, did I hit him? Did I hit him? It doesn't mean that she does or that she did. Is the defense making that
Absolutely.
case for a reasonable person on the jury?
Absolutely. I think what the defense is pointing out, which is a lot of what you'll continue to see, is the totality of the environment and whether or not somebody is remembering it exactly how it happened, or if somebody is remembering it under trauma or duress or stress. Because as the average person knows, when something happens, sometimes your brain fills in the gaps as to what you believe actually happened versus what really happened. And I think that just because, to Karen Reed's defense, just because someone said she said it or said she did it, doesn't mean that it actually happened. We're talking about a credibility issue with these witnesses in terms of what actually happened and what they remembered happened, and whether or not the traumatic situation affected that in any particular way.
Right. Let's go ahead and this is a little clip of McCabe's testimony when she talks about this. Karen Reed saying, I hit him in the heat of finding the body there. Roll that for us and you can listen, attorney.
Your memory is getting better even as we sit here today, correct?
There are certain things I will never forget, Mr. Jackson.
Including the fact that you never, ever, ever said, she said the words I hit him to a grand jury when you were asked about it 3 months after the incident. Correct?
She said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
You never told that to the grand jury, did you?
I don't remember specifically that every grand jury and everything I said, but I can tell you with 100% accuracy, she screamed, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
All right, little clip there. You're a defense attorney. What do you make of Karen Reed speaking to reporters on the way out and sometimes on the way in? Would you advise that? And then we're going to play a little bit of the last time we heard from her. Would you advise that?
So as I've said before, Karen Reed is in a unique position. Feels as if the entire world is watching her case. So as a defense attorney, it's easier to have your client tell her own story rather than people fill in the blanks to what they think that she should say. She's already done tons of interviews prior to this trial. So I don't see, and she has to deal with technically the court of the public as well, right? Whether she's well liked and things of that nature. And a lot of these jurors that are on the case right now know about her personality. So it's not uncommon that she would make comments to reporters and things of that nature. She's not revealing the specifics of the case. She's just giving her opinion as what is happening in the case. And I think that's totally fine. I think that's, as a defense attorney, she's not divulging any confidential information. So I'm not surprised that she makes these comments to reporters. And if she didn't, people would feel differently if she didn't anyway. Right. So, I would say there's no harm in that.
Yeah, well, the court of public opinion is in too, outside the court. And while the jury is not sequestered, people do all kinds of things. They talk to people about things they shouldn't be talking about. They happen to catch a little television news coverage or radio coverage. So I assume that you're playing to that juror outside of the courtroom too. Are you concerned that this jury is not sequestered? It's a lot to ask of this jury to box itself off from all this coverage. It's a tabloid.
I'm
sensation.
not concerned that this jury is not sequestered, because the reality is that this case has gotten so much attention. It would have been really, really difficult to find jurors or a set of jurors that did not hear about this case. And the reality is that hearing information live in person in front of you is going to give a different feel. You want the jury to see the witnesses' faces, their body reactions, how they're addressing the judge. All of that actually plays a key role in whether or not you think that person is credible. Because unfortunately, this is, something that a lot of attorneys face. If you like a witness, you're going to more likely believe their testimony. If you don't like a witness, you may think that they're not credible. So those are some of the things that if the jury is sequestered, you're really not going to be able to get a firsthand view of that, because they wouldn't be getting that live interaction. Right.
All things being equal, do you believe this jury is consuming media and that Karen is playing to the jurors outside of the courtroom? I mean, it's only human nature.
It's only human nature. Again, as the judge has instructed, the jurors really are not supposed to do any outside research on this case. They really should be focusing on the facts of this case. I think that they're going to take that instruction to heart. They're not going to do anything to jeopardize all of the outside noise that's happening. I think they really focused on this case. The jury selection process, as you remember, is very lengthy. They went to great lengths to research everybody who's on the jury. So they're going to take that to heart. But do they go home at night? Do they, see the crowds that are outside? Absolutely. But I do have faith that this jury is going to take their role very seriously and only focus on the facts of the case as they hear it inside the courthouse.
Well, let's give Karen Read the last word here today. We'll hear from her outside of court. She comes and goes. She's free to speak, and she has frequently done that. Go ahead and play that while we wrap this up.
Karen, how did Jen McCabe
Another
do?
witness, another instance of perjury, or instances, I'd say.
How do you feel about her change in demeanor
Change in demeanor? I didn't
from the
notice.
last trial?
I did not notice.
Karen, what would you like to say to Jen McCabe? Make a hole, guys. Make a hole.
Oh, I have nothing to say to Jen McCabe. I would say the dash cam and the 911 calls speak for themselves. If you want to know what the scene was like, just watch the video. Don't take anyone's word for it. Watch the video.
What can we expect from Cross?
A lot. I just want to thank Bob Alessi. I've been waiting to hear about my reconstructionist who I've invested a lot of money in over the last few months, and they're finally allowed to testify. They're objective. They were hired initially by the U.S. government. I didn't even know how to spell ARCCA until February of last year.
So you feel
so I'm incredibly grateful to Bob and my team, and grateful for the work you'll hear about from ARCCA.
Karen, any reaction to the Supreme Court not taking up the case?
No, fight on. Nothing's breaking me, Matt.
ARCCA means accident reconstruction. We'll have testimony from that particular team assembled. That's still to come. She lost her appeal on double jeopardy before the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court. That's over. She thinks Jennifer McCabe perjured herself. Just listening to her, she's really become, she's not just a layman anymore. She's almost become like a paralegal, which I suppose that, an average person can't help but absorb.
Absolutely.
This kind of terminology. She's her own paralegal. Go ahead and take the last word.
Absolutely. Karen Read is very well versed in this matter. She is very unique. A lot of defendants spend a lot of time investing in their case, but as you can see, she's being brought up to sidebar. She's doing her own research. This is definitely a case that she is very much hands-on, which is great for her defense team because they are, getting the information directly from her. There's no lapses between their communication. You want a strong defendant like that, especially in a case like this. So it's really refreshing to see that she's fully invested, fully engaged. She knows all the ins and outs about the strategic pieces that are happening in her case, which unfortunately doesn't happen with a lot of defendants, but it is very refreshing to see how involved she is in her own case. And she's standing by her innocence, which is very refreshing to see as a defense attorney.
All right, Morjieta, Derisier, you're a defense attorney we'll be calling on from time to time. Thanks for joining us now.
Thank you so much, Gene. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, and thanks, folks, for being with us as well. We do these daily debriefs. There was no court today, but it's a time to just recap kind of the action from the past week. I'm Gene Valicenti. See you on the news at 6.